The new 300-page Crypto Clarity Act draft is here. Today, I'm going to be telling you the only pages that matter. Let's immediately get into it on stablecoin yield. In section 404, now this reads that no one can pay any form of interest or yield solely in connection with holding payment stablecoins. So this basically means that if you only just deposit your USDC stablecoins at Coinbase, Coinbase cannot pay you yield just for holding your stablecoins for you. This is a huge win for the banks. This is basically what Bank of America, JP Morgan, and practically the whole banking industry has been fighting for a long time. To stop companies like Coinbase or Kraken for offering stablecoin yield to depositors of USD stablecoins in a way that competes with bank deposits. Remember, banks want customers to continue to leave their deposits at the bank so they can lend them out and make profit. One big point for the banks, but Coinbase hasn't lost just yet. The crypto industry actually got a huge section placed in the bill that literally changes everything. The bill continues to talk about permissible activities, those activities that would allow stablecoin yield rewards or interest to be paid to USDC or USD stablecoin depositors. And the main thing you want to focus on is the language around activity-based rewards or incentives. The definition of this includes loyalty, promotional, subscription, or incentive programs, as well as rebates. Now, this is very big, especially for Coinbase. Why? Because of the Coinbase One program. With the Coinbase One program, customers can subscribe for as little as $4.99 a month or $50 a year. Now, the benefit that you get with that subscription are things like zero trading fees on a certain amount each month, 4% back in Bitcoin from Coinbase's One credit card, as well as stablecoin yield, which is a big one that you see right here, as well as an additional benefit on staking rewards and lending rewards more than if you were not a Coinbase One subscriber. So just going back through this list, I think the biggest thing that you see is that you can earn 3.5% USDC rewards, which is the stablecoin yield rewards. Now, today, there are about 1 million subscribers in the Coinbase One program, so it has been very successful at growing, and that number is up 3x in the past 3 years. So if this version of the bill is passed, Coinbase can continue to pay stablecoin yield to close to 1 million of its customers. Now, the Coinbase One subscription does have various tiers. One of those that's a little bit higher up is called the preferred tier, and that's $29.99 a month or $300 a year. Now, with this higher cost, of course, you get a higher amount for zero trading fees, higher account protection, more staking rewards, but you get a very key thing as well, and that's advanced trade fee rebates. 25% off on spot trading fees up to 100 USDC per month. Why is this significant? If you remember the previous language, one of the exceptions to pay stablecoin yield rewards was not only subscriptions, but also rebates. So these are two activities that Coinbase, according to this language, will continue to be able to pay stablecoin yield rewards. And now these rebates are so important because Coinbase can still add rebate rewards to non-Coinbase One subscribers and effectively still pay them stablecoin yield. Having rebates and incentives as well as subscriptions and promotions basically provides Coinbase a roundabout way to give stablecoin yield to practically all of its customers. And just to note, for the premium tier, you get unlimited zero trading fees, a much higher account protection, more staking rewards. So this tier is definitely more expensive, $300 a month or up to $3,000 a year. But it brings home the message of Coinbase's focus on activity-based reward system, which allows it to offer stablecoin yield. My take, many people will find the Coinbase One subscription very compelling. One of the benefits that really stood out is the 4% back in Bitcoin given on the Coinbase One credit card, which is exclusive to Coinbase One subscribers. I mean, if you believe that inflation is going to continue and Bitcoin is going to continue to rise in value, obviously it's much more valuable for you to receive Bitcoin back versus US dollars or points. especially if you're going to be using a credit card anyway. The next topic is concerning DeFi or decentralized finance. Nothing much has really changed with this draft of the bill versus last time, except that they really honed down on what's a truly decentralized protocol versus a centralized protocol. So if there is a centralized identifiable party who can change the protocol, change the consensus mechanism, freeze user funds, then those are not truly decentralized. If you think about certain L2 protocols, such as Base, where all the transactions run through a centralized sequencer, then that wouldn't count as a truly decentralized protocol. If you think about a project such as Sui, where Mistin Labs can update the consensus mechanism and every node and validator has to accept the update or they are immediately disconnected from the blockchain, that's not decentralized either because there's no opt-out. This is unlike other blockchains like Ethereum or Cardano. When there is a major network upgrade for those blockchains, nodes and validators have the choice whether to accept or reject the update. And this has happened many times before, especially with blockchains like Ethereum. I don't know if you guys remember the Ethereum Classic blockchain, but there's one very big exception that was put into this new draft bill, and that's concerning cybersecurity emergencies. If you look at Section 301, Title 3, this basically says that in the event of a cybersecurity emergency or incident, a security council or decentralized autonomous organization or the developers could take action to rectify the situation. So that means that if there was a hack or an exploit, the developers could freeze the wallets that had that stolen crypto. And we have already seen this situation play out, especially with the KEP DAO hack. Arbitrum Security Council froze over 30,000 Ether connected to the KEP exploit, which was worth around $71 million. Now, this Security Council is made up of 12 different entities, and they even noted that they took input from law enforcement. This event is exactly what the language around cybersecurity emergency is talking about. That a blockchain like Arbitrum and the Security Council can cooperate with law enforcement to rectify a cybersecurity event. And the key part is that when they do this, that does not mean the government is going to change the legal definition of them. So even though the Arbitrum Security Council is technically a centralized entity that has the ability to freeze any wallet on the Arbitrum network, if they do this in this special cybersecurity event, then that will not affect their classification as a decentralized protocol. Now the question is this okay in crypto? I mean, one of the crypto ethos is decentralization, where no one has a direct form of control. I don't know what you think, but what's concerning, what if a year from now, the Arbitrum Security Council has froze 10,000 different wallets? While it could technically be the right thing to do, can we still call this blockchain decentralized? Now, Congress is trying to ease the concern by putting language in here that for these cybersecurity event emergency measures, the action must be limited in duration and scope, and the process for doing this must be publicly available, written, and transparent. Now, the issue I always think about, what happens is if this is passed with this language, what if the government approaches the founders of Ethereum or the developers of Ethereum and asks them to create a backdoor? And that is totally legal because they will still be considered decentralized. Do they comply or do they not? Things are not finished just yet with the bill. It's still working its way through Congress. There's definitely could be changes, amendments, and many other things that can happen before the final version is passed. But what I can say is that there is a huge push to get this passed, not only from Congress, but also the executive branch as well. And that's what's the angle on the only pages that you really need to focus on in the bill concerning stablecoin yield and your right to use DeFi or decentralized finance. If you enjoyed this video, believe it has some valuable insights, hit the subscribe button, turn on those notifications, and I'll see you next time.